the end of 2008, the Taliban were in full control of the Swat Valley and were broadcasting threats and orders over the radio. That edict was to change Malala's life.
They gave this sermon, no girl is going to go to school and we totally ban her and there will be no education for girls. And if anyone goes, then you know what would happen to her, you know the results.
What did you think they meant?
Oh, so that's simple. The Taliban's punishments were like slaughtering people in the green chalk, throwing acid on the women's faces, or abusing them, or killing them.
Malala's father, Ziauddin, was an anti-Taliban activist and one of the few people who would risk speaking to Western journalists. An American TV crew filmed with the family in the days leading up to the ban, when the Taliban were torturing and murdering anyone speaking out against them.
Good night.
Good night.
Malala, then only 11, spoke about her fears.
Sometimes I think that I will hide in the bathroom and I will call to police and they will come and they will save my father. And sometimes I think that I will tell my father that you hide in the cupboard and they will not check the cupboard. And I have many thoughts.
And when I'm not at night at your home, then what happens?
Ziauddin had also been approached by the BBC to find a schoolgirl to do an online diary. No one else would come forward, so he volunteered Malala.
This is the diary that I started in January 2009. And in this diary, I tried to explain what was happening in Swat and to explain my feelings. Monday, 5th of January, my friend came to me and said, "For God's sake, answer me honestly. Is our school going to be attacked by the Taliban?" During the morning assembly, we were told not to wear colorful clothes as the Taliban would object to it. I wanted to speak up for my right and I wanted to tell people outside in the whole world that listen to us, this is what is happening in our country. Swat Valley! Swat Valley!
On the last day before the ban, Malala was still rallying for her right to education. But as she said goodbye to her school friends, she didn't know when or if she would return.
I will get my education if it is in home, school or any place. Were you afraid? I was afraid of my future. There was fear all around us in every street and in every square of Mingora. At that time, I said, like, if we want to fight against the fear, let us have courage and let us have power to speak up.
Despite her fears, Malala took an even bigger risk.
Malala Yousafzai, बहुत शुक्रिया कि आप इस लाइव प्रोग्राम में मेरे साथ शरीक हैं.
When Pakistan's top news presenter came to Swat, she agreed to do a live interview with him, even though the Taliban were in control of the area.
बातें कर रहा था तो
अगर मुझे किसी यानी एक ऐसी जगह हो जहाँ मैं ज़मीन पर बैठूं, जहाँ बैठने की जगह भी नहीं हो, लेकिन जहाँ मुझे तालीम
और आप किसी से नहीं डरती.
किसी से भी नहीं डरती.
If you see the video of that first interview, you can notice that when she was talking to me, there were some Taliban people. They were standing behind her. They were actually watching.
All around me were only men. I was just the only girl or maybe a woman at that place. And my father was with me. When we went home, my mother was very afraid.
Why did you decide to be more public?
Becoming public meant like everyone would listen to you then. That's the simple reason that I spoke.
When the show was finished, Malala Yousafzai became a star from that night.
Violence in Swat escalated. By the end of 2009, the government finally took control. Although Taliban attacks continued.
मेरे साथ है मलाला Yousafzai, Assalamu alaikum.
By now, Malala was a regular on Pakistani TV. She spent the next 2 years campaigning hard for girls' education.
Malala Yousafzai.
But her fame made her even more of a target for the Taliban. Did you ever think that the Taliban might come for you the way that they had come for other people?
First I thought that they would only target my father because my father was also a social activist and he still is. When I also heard about the threats from the Taliban, I used to think that the Taliban would come and he would shoot Malala in the street.
We know that Taliban destroyed hundreds of schools, but they never targeted a child. They flogged adult girls, but they never killed children. We really didn't expect, because we thought that they might have some values. Terrorists might have some code of conduct.
October the 9th, 2012 was a normal school day for Malala and her friends.
We were having exam that week and the paper on the 9th of October went very well. It was of Pakistan studies, but the paper one day before was of physics. I love physics, but it was hard.
After a busy day of exams, they spilled out of the school gates just as these girls are doing today and began their journey home.
I love to go on foot, but my mother told me that you must not go on foot now and you must go in a bus, then you would be safe.
Along with Malala and her best friend Muniba, fellow students Kainat and Shazia were also on the bus that day.
Malala's friend was first in line, and then Malala, and next to Malala was Shazia, and I was next to Shazia. We were about to get to the crossing where we turned towards Malala's home to drop her off first.
I was just talking to Muniba, having gossip, and everything seemed as normal part of life. But when we went just further, I could see that there was no one at that time. And then I don't remember what happened.
The road was just like a curve, and when the van gets there, it slows down. When we reached that point, two boys appeared who I'd never seen before.
They were just like college boys, they're students, like.
One of them came around the back and asked, "Who is Malala Yousafzai?"
She was very scared at that time. She doesn't tell me anything.
So all of us looked, first towards Malala, then towards the man. So he knew she must be Malala. Then he fired straight at her.
This is where the horrific events of that day unfolded. Looking at the size of the bus, it must have been a terrifying experience for everyone on board. All of the students and the teachers must have felt the danger from that gunman. The gunman had fired 3 bullets, hitting Malala in the head and also wounding Shazia and Kainat.
My clothes, my shoes, my socks, my pouch, my books, all was just full of blood.
Malala's blood.
Malala's blood.
Area, please.
Malala was brought here to the local hospital in a critical condition. Her father rushed to her bedside.
And when I saw her, I just bowed down. I kissed her on her forehead, on her nose, cheeks, and then I said, "You're my brave daughter. I'm proud of you."
And I have pictures still in my mind. In one picture, suddenly I see my father on my left side. And when I look at him, I just tell him something. And then I just close my eyes and everything gets dark. I thought I'm dead.
Within an hour and a half, Malala was airlifted to a military hospital in the nearest city, Peshawar. Malala spent the first few hours of her care here in the intensive care unit. and it became clear that the initial assessment that she was stable was starting to change. Her life was becoming endangered and she needed an operation.